Ba-da. All right. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Dick Hickok, and it's time to begin again. And by that, I mean it's time for some immediate rebranding. This podcast is no longer known as the Nightmare Realm. It is now known as the Something's Wrong podcast. Now, the reasoning for this is not that the Nightmare Realm was a bad name or anything, but mostly it had too much conflict with other properties. Mainly with the fact that it's kind of a name from Gravity Falls, and I didn't realize this until I did a little Google search and found that the Nightmare Realm is some type of plane of existence in the children's TV show Gravity Falls, that has kind of a following among weird tweens from the last generation, whichever generation that happens to be at this point. I know it's the last one. It's not the recent one. It's the last one. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Gravity Falls, and so I didn't want to associate my podcast with anything like that. So we're moving forward. We're going to be moving forward with the Something's Wrong podcast, and I think that we'll be sticking with that name. And if we don't, well, that's fine. It's all going to be in the same place. It's not going to be that much confusion. I can't imagine being confused about this. Anyway, today's episode is on, it's a bit of a double feature. We're still on easy mode movies right now. We're on movies that are easy to talk about. Movies that I actually like, and so I want to talk about them, so I don't have to be heavily intoxicated when discussing them. But we're doing something a little different today. Today we're going to be having a bit of a double feature. Double feature that's still kind of the same feature. We're going to be reviewing both 1982's, not 1982, the year fucking shit, John Carpenter's The Thing. And then we're also reviewing the prequel/remake from 2011, also known as The Thing. Now, I understand that it's going to be very difficult to understand which movie I'm talking about at any given point, because I'm not going to want to say 2011, 1982, 2011, 1982. Fuck that. That's annoying. So really, I'm just going to talk about them one at a time. And initially, I wanted to do it in chronological order, but once we kind of delve into the details, you'll see why I'd want to start with John Carpenter's masterwork / cult classic. I've heard it be called both. People really like it now, but they didn't like it back then, and we'll get to that at some point. But yeah, for now we'll be starting with 1982, The Thing. And that's, yeah, we'll kind of be going forward with that. And if it takes too long, I may split this up into 2 episodes, and then you'll get 2 episodes for one recording session, and that would be cool. Certainly be cool. But we'll see how it goes. So John Carpenter's The Thing, 1982. Spoiler alert, because we're going to be going through the plot a bit first. 1982, winter, Antarctica. The opposite of the other one. This one's at the bottom of the world. I have to remind myself of that on occasion, that Antarctica is the one on the bottom, while the Arctic is the one on the top. And I don't know, I'm sure some scientist somewhere could tell me which one has polar bears and which one has penguins, but that's not really relevant because we don't see a single animal other than dogs, people, or aliens throughout this whole movie. So it's not important, and I should probably stop rambling on it. Anyway, opens 1982 Antarctica. we see a sled dog, some type of husky running across the snow, and in pursuit is a little helicopter with two Norwegian dudes in it. And one of them's flying the helicopter while the other one has a rifle and is shooting at the dog. And the two in the helicopter have a pretty bad strategy where they fly around erratically and try and hit a moving target while also being a moving target, which, I think would personally be a bad strategy for trying to hunt anything from a helicopter. You think you just kind of get ahead of it, hover, and shoot. But I don't know. I'm no hunter. I'm no great outdoorsman, although I have spent quite a bit of time living outside. I've never shot anything from a helicopter anyway. But yeah, they're missing every shot. They keep swerving over it. They're coming towards this American camp, which is our main setting, and all the Americans and the American research facility. They're all they're like, what's going on? What's heading on out there? That helicopter. It says something like Norwegian or something. So they go out to investigate. The dog runs towards them. And the helicopter finally lands because they can't keep buzzing the outpost, I guess. And one guy gets out, or both guys get out. The guy with the rifle walks forward. The dog is among all the American researchers, and so the guy shoots the rifle, and of course he misses again and shoots one of the Americans in the leg. That sucks. And the dog keeps running, and they're like, everyone take cover. The other guy in the helicopter, he has grenades, and he starts throwing grenades around. He'd actually been throwing grenades from the beginning as well, but he wasn't very good at it, and it showed now again because he pulled the pin and then he dropped the grenade behind him right next to their own helicopter, and it blows up, killing him and destroying the helicopter. The other guy with the rifle pursues the dog for a while through these field of crates, and then the American site commander comes out with a little revolver and shoots the guy dead in one shot, which I thought was kind of funny because the other dude had a fucking rifle with a scope and couldn't hit shit, and then this old man who's dressed like a Boy Scout instructor comes out and pops him from 100 feet out. Anyway, so they the American team tries to pick up the pieces. They patch the guy up who got shot because apparently the bullet just grazed his leg, so that's good. They put the dog in with the other dogs, actually they don't do that immediately. At first they have the dog just kind of around with them, because it's a dog, it looks all friendly and stuff. And and they try and figure out what happened. They figure out that the guys are Norwegian. And so what they do is they go over to, we're also introduced to some of the characters from the American camp, especially our main protagonist, McCready. McCready is the helicopter pilot. We assume he has some experience in the military because he has a pilot's jacket and stuff like that. So we're to possibly assume that he was in Vietnam or a similar war like that. And we first see him playing chess against an ancient computer that looks like a bunch of cardboard boxes stacked on top of each other. I'm not super familiar with old computers, or really any computers at all, but the thing, it looks like a fucking old-fashioned radio, and he's playing chess with it, and it has like a woman's voice, I assume, so he can feel like he has some female company out in the cold Antarctic winter. And he thinks that he's beaten the computer, and then the computer puts him in checkmate because he's playing chess. And so in response, he takes his fucking glass of whiskey, and in a egregious waste of whiskey and probably a waste of research funding, he opens up the little port on the computer and pours his whiskey into it, destroying the computer. And I guess this kind of gives us a little bit of insight into McCready's character, where he's fairly smart, he plays chess and shit. That's what smart people do. And then he's also very, very stubborn and a bit of a sore loser and also is pretty much willing to do anything to at least get even with his opponent. And this really comes into play further on in the movie. But anyway, he gets tapped to fly the site's physician out to the Norwegian camp. He doesn't really want to do it because there's some bad storms lately and stuff. But they manage to get there, and they find a horror show. They find blood everywhere, and everything's all burnt up. And then they find a pit full of misshapen corpses, and they also find a big block of ice that's all carved out like something that came out of it. And they find some of that. They find some old footage and some records and stuff. And they bring all that back, and they bring back the specimen. And from what they gather, they find that the Norwegians discovered some sort of ship or underground structure out there that's 100,000 years old or something like that, or 100 million years old. I don't know which one it was, but if it was 100 million years old, then it probably wouldn't have frozen, because it was all Pangea back then. Everything was warm or something. But if it was probably 100,000 years ago, Antarctica was still cold. So I guess the whatever they found was all frozen up. And so it looked like they discovered something and then brought it back to their base. And then the Americans determined that whatever was there woke up and started messing people up. They dissect the specimen. They find that it has all human organs, and so they don't know what's going on. So it's it's weird. Their chief biologist, Blair, who's played by Wilford fucking Brimley himself, Mr. Diabetes. That's not very nice to say. I believe he died of diabetes at some point in the past 25 years. So R.I.P. to Wilford Brimley. Fascinating actor. I'm sure I'll go into him deeper at some point, into his character deeper, into his life history. Anyway, he plays Blair, the chief biologist, and the chief biologist deduces that this creature is some organism that can, perfectly imitate other organisms, something like that. And and so they kind of they don't really know what to do with this information, so they all turn in for the night. And in one passing scene, we see the dog from earlier walking into someone's room, but we don't see who. And the next day they put the dog in. Oh man, I'm screwing up the chronology now. This sucks. God damn it. What happened? What's in my notes? Table shot, Kurt Russell. Oh, by the way, MacReady, the main protagonist, is played by Kurt Russell, who's been in several of John Carpenter's films. So, very good actor. MacReady, Norwich Camp, okay, right. So, yeah. So the next day they have their kennel master dude, their dog guy. His name's Clark or something, and they have him put the dog in the dog from the Norwegian camp in with their dogs, and they go back to partying or whatever the next day, and while that happens, the dog, which is actually the thing, comes in, and it transforms and starts attacking the other dogs, and starts absorbing them. And the people come back. They hear a commotion, so they all come in, and they see this happening, and they're like, "What the fuck is going on?" And MacReady's there, and he tells someone to go and get a flamethrower. And the guy who comes back with a flamethrower, his name is Childs. And basically, his whole role in the movie is to kind of just push back on everything that MacReady suggests. I don't know what beef they have initially, but it seems that they have some type of beef. Or Childs is really just paranoid and mistrustful towards the wrong people every single time, which is kind of a funnier look at his character. But anyway, he brings a flamethrower. The thing tries to grow legs and escape into the vents or into the roof or something. but it's not able to do it in time. It's not able to attack in time, so it gets barbecued with a flamethrower. I don't know exactly what they use flamethrowers for in Antarctica. I'd assume maybe for melting ice or some shit, but it's just kind of funny that they have a whole ass flamethrower in this Antarctic research base. I have no idea what they could possibly be using that for, except maybe, I guess, melting ice. But there's got to be, maybe if there's no other easier way to melt ice, then you got to use that flamethrower. Oh well. Anyway, they dissect the dog thing, and I believe that's actually when Blair figures out that this is an organism that can perfectly imitate other organisms, because they find that the dog is being inside. One of the dogs had been absorbed and then was being copied within the creature. And so they figure that out. Blair kind of figures that out. Everyone's a little bit freaked out. They don't really know what's going on. And they start getting a little bit paranoid. They start getting some bad feelings that maybe the creature has not entirely left the base. But Blair's very reluctant to share all this information with everybody. He drops like little hints to like Clark and stuff, where he's like, how long were you alone with the dog? Clark's like, it's about one couple hours. Blair's like, okay, interesting. Clark's like, why do you ask? He's like an idiot. He's like a big idiot, Clark is. Wilford Brimley's a smart dude in the movie. But and I assume in real life he's got to have something. But anyway, so it kind of he ends up running Dr. Blair ends up running a simulation on his own little archaic computer, and it's very easy for everyone to understand, for the audience to understand, because it literally just says like, the thing assimilates other cells, thing assimilates other stuff. Run simulation, and then like Wilford Brimley taps like 3 keys with his big sausage fingers, and it's sausage fingers. God damn it. Yeah, he taps the keys with his big sausage fingers, and he runs the simulation, and the simulation basically says that within like a year, the entire population of the world could be assimilated if this thing gets off of Antarctica. And he's like, fucking shit, this is fucking terrible. And he has like kind of a mental breakdown, and he starts to have like a mental breakdown, and then but the others don't really notice that until later. In the meantime, they have the specimen from the Norwegian camp in the room in like some like just storage area, and it's melting. Like, I don't like how much shit ends up melting in this movie when they're in the Antarctic. You think they could just like leave shit out and have it freeze, but I guess maybe they don't want it to be freezer burned, and maybe they don't have a proper freezer room. I don't know. Either way, it's like kind of melting and dripping blood. And the 2 like boneheads in there, one of them's the radio operator, and one of them's the dude who got shot in the leg. And they don't really notice it. It's just like dripping fucking fresh blood. And so the radio operator guy goes out somewhere, and the other dude who got shot in the leg, his name's Bennings. He's like kind of bald. He's got a beard, and he's left alone with the thing. And he's like fucking with some shit on some shelves, and the thing has like a weird tentacle reaching out. And then when the radio guy comes back, he sees that the thing has reached out a tendril, and it has Bennings around by the neck and is like absorbing him. And he's like, oh shit, oh fuck, and he goes and finds the people, and they come back, and when they come back, Bennings is gone. And it's like, oh, he was just right there. And they don't really do anything with this specimen first. I guess they just kind of leave it there, even though it's still sort of alive. But yeah, they run out and try and find Bennings, and they find him running out into the snow. And they find him out there, and his hands are all fucked up because he hasn't finished absorbing him and copying him perfectly yet. And he falls to his knees in the snow, holding his weird fucked up alien hands, and he goes just like staring at you, Pretty iconic moment. And yeah, they don't know what to do about that for a second. But then McCready comes out and he's like, all right, fuck this. And then they cooks the fucking alien Bennings. He's just sitting there in the snow. We don't really understand initially the Thing's strategy, and we kind of don't really get an idea of it until later in the movie. But it seems like at this point it was just trying to like run away, I guess, because it couldn't really blend in with the people, and so it was like, whatever, I'll just go out and like freeze myself or whatever and go dormant or something like that. And but yeah, just kind of like ran off, didn't try and hide anywhere, didn't try and wait out somewhere to be fully absorbed or whatever, because you don't really get a great idea of how this thing operates. But anyway, moving forward, they find that Blair's had some type of breakdown. He's destroying all their radio stuff so no one could get out. He also destroyed all their the stuff from their tractor, and like he broke down the helicopter. And so basically no one can leave the base because Blair has figured out that if this thing gets off base, it's going to kill the whole world. And so he has a breakdown. He's got an axe. The radio guy's in there. It takes a bunch of people to take down this old man. It's pretty funny, to be honest. He just like, it's just this big old Wilford Brimley just throwing people around as this old scientist dude. It ends up taking like 3 guys to come in, and then McCready like punches him out. And eventually they lock him in the shed. Yeah. And they like they lock him in the shed, and before they leave, he tells McCready to watch Clark. And so McCready kind of buddies up with the assistant biologist and tries to like get something together so they can figure out who else might be a thing. And assistant biologist is like, I don't know, he looks like he's like 35, but he acts like he's still just like some like fucking lab assistant for Blair. He's like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this without Blair. How about we just go and get Blair out? I need Blair. I need Blair. He's my mentor. And it's like, dude, you're like 35. You should have a PhD, or you could have a PhD yourself already. Like, I just needed some water there. I don't know why he's like so reluctant to do shit without Blair. And it's great because later we find out it's not like he's a thing and is trying to sabotage everything. But like, yeah, he proposes some type of like blood test. Or no, he mentions that they should all like prepare their own meals because they should all prepare their own meals because if this thing is like just a bunch of little cells that can take over stuff, then it could contaminate people's food. And like in that case, that kind of brings into question once again, what is the Thing's strategy? Because if it wanted to just assimilate everyone, which you think it would want to do since it wants to do that anyway, like why wouldn't it just like, you know, whoever was the Thing, whoever was going around earlier, or even like the dog, if the dog was going around earlier, like why didn't it just like make a little hand or whatever and then, you know, drip its blood into their cans of beans or like into their roast or into their booze or into their water or something, into their fridge, into the air vents to aerosolize itself. You know, it just makes you wonder kind of what its ending strategy kind of was. And I guess it does stay kind of nebulous throughout the movie, but you think that at the very least, to stay safe, since it knows that everything is trying to kill it, that it would just try and assimilate everything as quickly as possible and just like, and get the chef. How about you get the chef? They have a chef. They have one guy who prepares all the food. Or at least it seems like it's just one guy who's hanging out in the kitchen and he rollerblades everywhere and listens to Stevie Wonder. And he's just like smoking blunts and listening to Stevie. Like, you think he'd be pretty easy to get. You could probably just get him to fall over on his fucking rollerblades and then just assimilate him while he's knocked out. Or just, you know, if the dog is the Thing, why didn't it just go around to the kitchen and like piss on stuff? Just piss on a countertop surface where they're preparing the food, and then, you know, maybe wipe it away with like, I don't know, your fucking fur or whatever, and then just let them let them eat your thing piss, and just slowly get assimilated. Like once again, we don't get a great idea of how it works, how much of the thing can assimilate you. But it's just something I was thinking about that time, especially after that single throwaway line from the biologist where it's like, oh, we should all prepare our own meals. But anyway, yeah. So Blair's stuck in the shed. He's like, oh. They're kind of like going around and they're trying to figure out something to do. They try and set up a blood test, but then when they come back to the room where all the blood is stored, they find that all the blood's been tampered with and has been all cut out of the bags and it's just spilled out everywhere, and so they have no idea whose blood is whose. And apparently only a few people actually had access to that, and so it's kind of so they're like, shit. Well, one of us is the thing, and one of us is definitely the thing, and it's got to be one of the three people who has access to it, which is like the commander dude, the commander of the facility, the physician, and then like Clark, the dog man, and or like it was someone else. It was one other person, maybe. I don't know. Either way, they kind of go around, and then one of the guys finds, or the assistant biologist, he goes out to check on Blair, I believe, or to go and get something. I don't really remember, but he finds McCready's jacket with a bunch of holes in it, and this is a big indicator because earlier in the movie they found someone's like pajamas with a bunch of holes in them, and they have no idea who it could be, but they figure that it has to be someone who got transformed. And so when the assistant biologist finds McCready's jacket all torn up, he's like, "Oh shit! Oh fuck! McCready's been transformed." And then afterwards, they find him. The assistant biologist's name is Fugues, by the way, and then they find him, Fugues, burnt to a crisp outside the camp, and they think that he probably tried to immolate himself to avoid being assimilated by the thing. And so they're like, wow, shit. And then, but the thing is that, so McCready goes out with the cook guy, and they head out to they try and go out to his like bungalow or whatever to like get some other shit. I don't know. I'm kind of forgetting major plot points here, so it's not super helpful. But the point is they go out together. They're on like a tether because it's really windy and stormy out there. And the cook comes back alone, and he's like, "Oh shit, I saw McCready's jacket, and McCready must have turned. So I cut the line and I ran back here, and McCready's out there. He's got to be the thing." And all the people are kind of like, except for the radio operator guy, they're kind of like, "Oh yeah, McCready's got to be the thing. No wonder he's trying to take charge here and take control of everybody." And so they all kind of get together, try and like, if he tries to come back, we'll kill him or whatever. And then McCready does manage to break back in. He fights off some guys and then takes everyone hostage with a big stick of dynamite. He's like, "All right, this whole place goes up if you try and burn me." And it's like, yeah, his main opposition, of course, is Childs, the guy who was already kind of like, he had just been kind of being paranoid the whole time. At first, he didn't believe that what was happening was happening. It's like, "Oh, you're telling me this thing could be anybody?" And he's like, "Well, if it could be anybody, how do you know I'm me?" And they're like, I guess we'll just find out, dude." And then Childs is like, "Well, I don't want to find out that way." Like, literally every single thing that McCready proposes, Childs is like, "Well, fuck that shit. I don't want to do it." Fuck you, McCready. Who made you the king of everything? I think it's probably because he wanted to take charge at some point. I think he was one of the guys who wanted to take charge when they thought that the commander might have been compromised, because the commander, as we remember, was one of the dudes who had access to the blood bank, and the blood bank was found tampered with. And so they're like, "All right, we need a new fucking leader." And so the leader gets the gun. And so Childs wanted to be the leader, and then they were like, we need someone less hot-headed to give it to McCready. So Childs is probably just like pissed about that the whole time. And yeah, so McCready comes back. He takes everyone hostage with dynamite. He's like, "Go ahead, fucking burn me." Um, yeah. While this happens, there's one dude. Um, I don't remember his name, unfortunately, but I remember as the big dude, the big fat guy. He starts to have he has like chest pains. We see him having chest pains while they're like waiting for McCready. And then while this whole hostage situation is going down, he has a heart attack, or what appears to be a heart attack. And so when they take him into the operating room, the physician tries to give him chest compressions, and his whole torso opens up into a big mouth and bites off the physician's arms. And the physician falls back and dies, and the big fat guy, he starts to like split apart into a bunch of things. His got a head on like a tendon coming out of his chest and going like, and then his head pops off and becomes a spider, and I don't know, a really slow moving spider. I think that's one of the main vulnerabilities of this thing, because the whole it's the whole iconic scene where there's like a bunch of shit all coming off of the guy, and he's just some type of horrific body horror monster, and McCready burns it, but like I think that's the main vulnerability of the thing in this film, and that I think is really important for most of the plot of this film, is that the thing is fucking slow as shit. It takes it forever to transform. It takes it forever to split off into other fucking parts. At times, it's pretty fast, and it's obviously pretty strong. Because it can eat people one-on-one and without much trouble. But the thing is fucking slow as dicks if it doesn't like sneak up on you. Like we never get a chase scene in the whole movie, and I'm happy for that, because that would probably be a nightmare. Especially with all the practical effects. But the thing is, it's so slow. The dude on the operating table, his head separates into another little separate creature, becomes like a spider or whatever, because it grows little legs. The spider legs are so slow and they're so like gangly. It's obviously like a little puppet, but it still looks pretty cool. And it's just like it's spinning around on its little legs, and it takes forever to get out of there, and it doesn't seem to know where to go. It like looks down the hallways. And then McCready sees it, and he cooks it, and its little legs jump around. And it goes, yeah, it just burns to death. But yeah, it's very slow to transform, slow to move, and so that seems like that's kind of its main vulnerability, that it can't transform that fast, and if it gets caught, it's gonna get cooked by a fucking flamethrower. Anyway, so based on seeing that, McCready notes that, all right, so this thing, it's not like, it doesn't stay as one creature. Like, it's not like organs in a body. Each like cell of it is like its own organism. And so he ends up making a new test where it's like, okay, we have some blood samples. We'll take some blood samples from everybody, and we'll put a hot needle into the blood. And if a hot needle makes the blood jump because it's going to act like its own organism, then they'll know that that person is the thing. And so they basically, McCready and the radio guy, he has the radio guy as his assistant, because the radio guy was the only one who didn't want to kill McCready immediately upon re-entering the base. Sorry, a little more water. Probably a bad idea to drink water in the middle of a thought, but that's just how we roll here on Something's Wrong. Maybe a little more water. Wet my whistle. That's what I'm doing here. Wetting my whistle. All right. Yeah, so McCready makes the radio guy his little assistant, because the radio guy didn't try and betray him, immediately try and murder him. And so, yeah, they tie everyone else up. They also test the two dead guys. Apparently neither of the... spoiler. It was just one dead guy at first, is the physician. And then Childs and Clark don't want to get tied up. And they have like some type of weird little like nodding alliance goes, and Clark tries to stab McCready with his flip knife, and McCready shoots him in the skull. And he drops dead. It's like, damn, dude, that was pretty fucking stupid. And then Childs doesn't even do anything. He just kind of like nods at Clark, and then Clark like attacks him, and then Childs doesn't do anything. It's like, dude, fucking back up your guy if you really think that MacReady's the thing, or that MacReady's gone full psycho and that you still have a chance to leave. Like, fucking back up your man. But whatever, he didn't. He gets tied up too. Everyone gets tied up. They test everyone's blood, and they test a bunch of people, and most of them are all safe. Even the two dead guys, the physician and Clark, end up not being things. So that sucks for them. They just managed to kill like two of their own, although one of them was killed by the thing. So, yeah. But yeah. So Childs is still like being a dick. He's like, untie me. And MacReady's like, no. And so they test everyone, and then there's this one dude whose name I forget. He's like one of the mechanics or something like that. I guess Childs is the mechanic. Apparently he's the main mechanic. He looks like another like former military guy too. But anyway, there's this other dude, and I don't remember what he is, if he's a geologist or like just some other fucking crew member, but I immediately forgot his name. And he ends up being the thing. His blood reacts and jumps away and goes like and scrambles off on the floor. And yeah, and so he gets up and transforms, and then both of the flamethrower that MacReady gave to the radio guy is just like not working. It's having ignition problems. And yeah, and so like the thing gets up and it breaks out of its bonds because it's really strong. And it goes over to the radio guy, and the thing's head opens up into a big set of jaws, and it bites the radio guy's head and lifts him up and flips him around like a doll. And you can kind of see when it turns into like a dummy doll, when the radio guy's body is just like a doll in different scenes and flops around. It's just going like, flopping. And you see the thing, it like jumps to the ceiling, and like it's able to like hold on to the ceiling there, which is crazy. And then it comes back down and bites the radio guy's head, and he's flipping him around, and MacReady's trying to get the fucking flamethrower to work, but it's not working. And the other dudes in the chairs are freaking the fuck out. They're like, "Oh, get me the fuck out of here! Untie me! God damn it!" And then MacReady finally manages to get the flamethrower working right after, of course, his assistant is dropped dead on the floor, and the thing comes around and it tries to go for MacReady, and immediately it gets burned. And it tries to walk out and like crashes through like a wall and shit, and then it falls out into the snow and gets burnt some more. And then MacReady also has to burn the radio guy, who's obviously getting turned, I guess, from the bite or something like that. Once again, not super easy to tell what can turn you into a thing in this movie. Like, is it like, if you just eat a single cell? How if someone spits in your eye? How about if someone spits in your eye? Can you become a thing from sex? Well, I assume probably from sex. If you're inside someone already, that would be pretty easy. So, oh man, that would be a horrific thing to put in a sequel. If they made a sequel to the thing and they had someone having sex, and then it's like they become the thing while they're having sex, damn, that would be fucking freaky, dude. It's too bad John Carpenter decided not to have any one of these guys fuck each other and then be like, oh shit, I'm inside a dude and his ass became a set of jaws and bit my fucking nuts off. Oh, fuck me. Oh, God. Oh, fuck me. Oh, God. That would be terrifying. But yeah, I guess the radio guy was like coming back to life because he was becoming a thing or something like that. And so MacReady burns him. And then he finishes testing the last couple dudes, and they all end up being human, which is cool. So he unties everyone, and now it's time to like, all right, let's go test Blair. And they go out to the shed, and Blair's gone, and there's like a tunnel underneath the floorboards, and when they go into the tunnel, they find that Blair has been using like bits and pieces from the tractor and stuff. He's started to build a little like, looks like some sort of little hovercraft or spacecraft or something like that, some type of vehicle. And he's been building this thing under the shed, but I guess he caught wind of what was going on, and decided to make a break for it. And so, yeah, they don't like, once again, we're coming back to this issue again, where it's like, what is this thing's main strategy and how smart is it actually? Because we have right now I have two prevailing theories. Number one, it's a collective intelligence where all the cells sort of like make up its intelligence, and the more cells there are, the more intelligent it is. Like if it's making up something like a dog that doesn't have that complex of a brain, then it's not that smart. And so that's why the dog didn't just like poison everybody's tea or coffee or booze or food or whatever, or, I don't know, shit in their pants or something like that. Because it was kind of about as smart as a dog, and it just kind of knew to attack the other dogs and other stuff when it was alone with them. Beyond that, like, I don't know what the other theory that I think might be a somewhat better theory, as we find out as the movie goes on, is that the thing kind of retains the intelligence of whatever it's trying to imitate. Like it had the dog, and once again, the dog's not that smart. In the previous theory, it would stand that like the bigger the host or the bigger the copy, the more intelligence it has. But all the men are about the same size, and it seems like there's wildly varying differences in intelligence here. Like the big fat guy, he like fakes a heart attack, and it's like that's his big prank. The other dude just kind of like sits down, and he doesn't try and run away or go take a shit or anything like that. He just kind of sits down in the chair, and then his big idea is to bust out of the chair and then go and just attack the nearest dude. And that works out sort of well just because the flamethrower fails. But other than that, not the best plan to have to break out of bonds that you willingly put yourself in, jump on the ceiling, and then come down and bite a dude's head off. That's not necessarily the best way to go about these things. But then the Blair one, and we find out that Blair at some point, or we assume that he's been infected at this point, right? Because he's building a fucking spaceship or a hovercraft or something to get the fuck out of here. He's trying to leave this base, or he was trying to leave this base, but they interrupted him. And so, like, we now know that he's been infected at some point. Now the question is, how long has he been infected? Was he infected during like when the very first like specimens came in? Did he get infected by the very first dog, perhaps? Was he like one of the first people infected the whole time? And then he just like destroyed all their radio equipment and stuff. That doesn't make a lot of sense. If he was infected the entire time during his mental breakdown, why would he have destroyed all the radio equipment? Like just so he could use it to make a fucking little hovercraft for himself? That doesn't make a lot of sense at all. You'd think they'd just be like, all right, I'm going to publish some false results. And then I'll say like, everything's fine. Because everyone was kind of just like chilling. Most everyone was just like, all right, everything's fine. And then it came and infected that one dude. So we have to assume that Blair was not infected the entire fucking time, right? And that he became infected possibly while he was in the shed. Because he was like questioning people up before that. He questioned Clark. He was kind of going around talking about shit. So he must have gotten infected in the shed and then had been like kind of sneaking around through the tunnel after he got infected. Because at some point there was a dude, like, everyone was kind of going around and just like doing their own thing. So it wasn't entirely out of the realm of possibility that at some point someone got to Blair, or maybe even those little streams of blood got to Blair. But I feel like it would take more time than that. So I think probably at some point when there was more than one imitation going around, he got infected at some point, because he was totally isolated, and they completely isolated their chief biologist for whatever reason. And but yeah, we now know he's infected. And he was smart enough to try and build a spaceship. And then we later find that he's kind of smart enough to have other strategy too. Because McCready deduces that since they've caught his spaceship, like now he's going to go and just try and like go somewhere and freeze. And and just wait until the summer when rescuers come back and thaw everything out, and then maybe he'll be able to escape again. But so that's the strategy that McCready puts on the Blair thing. But why is the Blair thing like so much smarter and more strategic than the other things so far? Why didn't the Blair thing come and help the other thing? We never see two things work together. We never see a lot of shit. It's kind of a limited just because of, what the effects that they had and like kind of the limitations of the narrative of the film. And so we don't get to see everything. But yeah, at this point, it makes you wonder, like, is the thing's intelligence dependent on the intelligence of the host? Because Blair is obviously, he's like the most senior scientist among them. He's like the smartest guy. And so like I guess if the thing absorbs the intelligence of whatever it's imitating, then it would make sense that Blair becomes the smartest thing copy. Anyway, so they decide to like go ahead and destroy everything and burn it down because they're like, we're not getting out of here alive anyway. And the other guys kind of just go along with that. At this point, there's Childs, there's the cook, and then the commander of the base is McCready, and they're all just like, okay, whatever. No one gets out alive. That's cool. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of weird to me. I mean, obviously, maybe they probably won't be able to fix everything in time. They won't be able to fix vehicles in time to get out of there. But you think maybe they could just, like, since they know they're all human, just hunker down with the flamethrowers, wait for the thing to freeze somewhere, maybe burn it out later, tell everyone what they saw. McCready's like, nah, fuck that. Half of our shit is on fire. Maybe they're out of food. I don't remember if they're out of food or not. That would be kind of an important plot point to remember. But whatever. They decide, all right, no one gets out alive. We're going to burn everything and flush this thing out, and then we're going to kill it. And then we're probably all also going to die. And the other two guys are like, okay. Except for Childs, he's like there to like stand. He's like standing guard in the base in case that Blair tries to come back the normal entrance into the base. Meanwhile, the other dudes are kind of like under in the basement, setting up dynamite charges to blow everything up. The commander guy kind of goes off on his own. Blair thing catches him, puts his hand like into his mouth, and then just like absorbs his face with his hand. So that was pretty cool. And then kind of in the background, we see him just dragging this like misshapen lump of flesh attached to his arm, just away in the background. Very creepy stuff. And then the cook kind of just like, he doesn't even really get an on-screen death. He just kind of wanders off because he's like, hey, Captain, where are you? And he like rollerblades up. I don't think he still has the rollerblades at this point, but he just goes off somewhere and then disappears. And then McCready's like, guys, that's not good. Oh, well. And so, yeah, he's like kind of finishes up the charges, and he like kind of looks down, and then all of a sudden all the boards, all the floorboards get kicked up, and it's this crazy like tsunami of floorboards that all get smashed his way, and it creates a big hole in the ground. And out of the big hole in the ground pops up the fucking Uber thing, the Uber Blair thing. It's assimilated 2 other people into its mass. It's huge. It's got like a dog head coming out of it still for some reason. And which I guess would imply that maybe the dog originally got to Blair. But once again, knowing what we saw from Blair, that doesn't make a lot of sense as a very good strategy to be like, oh, let's isolate everybody so we never get out. That doesn't really make any sense. But then again, we don't ever really know. We only speculate about its actual motivation. So maybe it really just wanted to get back into a spaceship and go home. That would be actually kind of sad. That would be pretty sad. But yeah, in any case, it's there. It's huge. It's once again, after it bursts out of the hole, it's moving really slow. It used its big like tentacles to come around and steal the big dynamite charge, so the McCready couldn't light it. But unfortunately for it, McCready had another little stick of dynamite, And the thing like roars at him, and I guess it's about to strike, and McCready says, "Fuck you too," and lights a stick of dynamite and throws it at the giant thing, and it blows up, and it blows up the whole base because it's, he's got all the dynamite everywhere, and the thing just like ate some dynamite because it's fucking, I guess, not that smart. And so with that, McCready goes out, and he kind of like finds a little bit of shelter, and he's got his bottle of whiskey, and he comes across Childs. And they're still really suspicious of each other. They're like, well, I don't know if you're a thing. You don't know if I'm a thing. But let's just have some whiskey and chill out because there's nothing either of us can really do about it anyway if either of us are the thing. And so it kind of ends on a bit of a nebulous note. Like, could either one of them be the thing? It's probably unlikely that McCready's the thing since we've seen him like sabotage every single thing, every single like strategy that the thing could have. And now he's just kind of sitting out there freezing to death. So it's kind of unlikely that he's the thing. It's sort of unlikely that Childs is the thing too, but, can't be entirely sure. He did just kind of disappear at some point, as we saw we see it in one scene that he's disappeared from his post. And so we don't know where he went. He claims that he went out to that he thought he saw Blair. And so he went out to try and burn him. But who really knows what happened? So that's kind of how the movie ends, and them just kind of staring each other down as the fire starts to die and the cold sets in. It's pretty interesting way to end the movie. So what did I love about this movie? A lot of things. Very cool creature designs, very cool special effects. All practical special effects, which is just crazy. Really like laid the groundwork for lots of body horror after that, and it's so good and so well crafted that the effects still generally hold up today, with a few little exceptions, like the whole ragdoll body being jerked around by the thing, and then like the spider head that definitely looks like just a janky little puppet, but everything else looks like really fucking cool. And even those things looked cool too. I mean, it just didn't look quite as fluid as like something in real life as the other ones did. But overall, it's just A plus on the special effects. I believe there's the man who did the special effects. He went on to do like a ton of other really impressive work. John Carpenter, of course, went on to make movies like Escape from New York and Escape from New York 2, and it kind of all went downhill from there for him. Like it's mostly been downhill since then. He made like a new Halloween reboot. He made it's been a little bit downhill for John Carpenter, but this is a real testament to his craft. Everything that the characters do is generally pretty understandable from the information that they have. Like they don't immediately know this thing is an alien. Why would they immediately believe that there's an alien among them? And then once they do have an alien among them, it's like, okay, what do we even fucking do? Like how do we know who to trust? Everyone's kind of just the right amount of paranoid, except for Childs, who I think he's mostly just kind of there to be a foil the entire time. He ends up causing the death of at least one character that would have been helpful, which is Clark, simply by the fact that just having more people is more helpful. But yeah, he gets Clark killed just straight up, which is silly. So he's kind of like a foil through the whole movie. But everyone else is pretty realistic as far as being paranoid. The dialogue's good. A lot of cool stuff, some cool lines. Cheating bitch, fuck you too. Mostly just cursing. But yeah, a lot of cool shots. The lighting, it's all very dark and foreboding. And even though it's like they're in somewhere in like California, I believe. Like I don't think they're not even filming anywhere like close to the Arctic or Antarctic tundra. I'm pretty sure they're literally just filming it in like California somewhere, and then they just filled up the whole thing with like snow. And they just filled up the whole thing with like fake snow. And production. Yeah, so they did some filming in Juneau, but then they also did more stuff in like British Columbia. So not California, but they probably did use a lot of fake snow still. Freeze and break. Yeah. Well, actually, maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't at all. God damn it, I'm stupid. Whatever. Fuck off. Okay. Snow to fall. Yeah, so I guess they probably did have some snow machines in there just to make sure the snow happened, but they did film it in ironically the Arctic rather than the Antarctic. I don't know if that's ironic. It might just whatever. What the fuck is the difference anyway? Good on them. They filmed basically on location. And yeah, so just a really kind of impressive feat of filmmaking. Oddly enough, the movie didn't get the best reviews when it came out. Everyone seemed to think it was kind of mediocre. Well, not everyone, but like a lot of the major movie critics at the time, like Robert Ebert, Robert Ebert, whatever. That dude fucking sucks. His movie opinions are trash. I hope I get him on the podcast so I can tell him how wrong he is about how bad he is as a film critic. Okay, welcome to the new generation. Welcome to the new generation of film critics, Robert Ebert. But yeah, he thought it was mediocre. He still thinks today that it's mediocre. Whatever. He's a dork. I don't care for him. I don't care for him very much at all. But yeah, eventually over time it developed a cult following of people really praising its effects and the performances of the actors like Wilford Brimley and Kurt Russell. Russell comes in and kills it as being kind of crazy and paranoid, especially by the end. Yeah, so it's overall very, very cool film with only a couple real logical inconsistencies that I could find, mostly relating to, once again, how smart is the thing and what the fuck is its actual strategy. Does it actually want to get out of here and get out into the world? That's what we're led to believe. Does it just want to go home? If it just wants to go home, that kind of makes more sense as far as it just like wandering off into the cold. But, maybe it could also just be trying to freeze and go dormant again. Who knows? I sure don't know. They find it on a ship. Is it the Thing's ship? Maybe we'll find that out in the prequel. Maybe we'll find that out. Oh, I don't know. But yeah, that's the kind of the gist of the Thing, 1982. Very, very, very fun movie. Very cool. A lot of cool scenes. A lot of really memorable moments, especially involving the special effects. Not so much in me remembering each of the characters' names. I remember some of them. I remembered Bennings. Well, I didn't remember him. I put him in my notes. But yeah, whatever. That's just kind of how it goes. Sometimes you just have characters that you forget in these types of movies, especially in the 80s. No one remembers the 80s. I don't remember the 80s. Why would I remember characters from the 80s? That's good. Okay, we'll probably go ahead into part 2 now, and then we'll be able to compare and contrast these fucking films. Yeah.